When you set off onto the frontiers of space, the first thing you want to make sure you have is a ship that's capable of doing just a little bit of everything, because you never know what sort of scenario you're going to get yourself into. Hey guys, Morphologist here, and welcome back. In this review, I'm going to take you guys through the new ship from Consolidated Outlands, the Nomad. A jack of all trades, but a true master of none. We'll start off by taking a look at its interesting exterior and features, then we'll make our way onto the inside and look at those features as well. And all the while, as usual, we'll be taking a look at its successes and failures. And then, near the end, we'll hop into the flight seat and see how it flies. And if, by the end, you think I did a good job and helped you make a decision of whether or not this ship is for you, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. The Nomad's design is a bit of a departure from what we've come to expect from stuff coming out of Consolidated Outlands, but then again, we don't have very many ships from them, so we have yet to see them really truly establish their style. Still, the design makes me think that it's the kind of ship that only a certain kind of person might like. Kind of ship that you have to look deep inside to see its beauty. But for me, I actually kind of like its quirky look. And yeah, it kind of looks like a ship from another game, but to me, it's different enough to feel that it's its own thing. I also quite like its unusual hover gravlev landing gear, though I don't quite understand why this had to happen. Perhaps it'll have to do something in future with the surface of a moon or planet that you're landing on being so hot or cold that it would damage the gear in the ship by directly coming in contact with it. But there's one design element of the ship that really stands out above the rest, and that's its exposed rear cargo bay, in the style of something like a pickup truck from today's day and age. Personally, I'm a fan of this quirk of the ship. It sets it apart from any other ship out there in the verse, but I feel like its implementation into the design is a bit forced, and that the reason for not having the rear bed directly accessible from the cabin feels contrived. I can't imagine a reason why you wouldn't want this to be a thing when it's just as easy and there's plenty of space to do it in the hull that separates you from the rear to the front. It just creates an uncomfortable extra step to wanting to access that bay in order to get your vehicle or shipment in and out of it. And that's for no conceivable reason. The ladder that gives you access to it is also over-detailed, but I like that about this ship. It gives it a bit more of a unique feeling, that it's pushing the boundaries of what's possible for every aspect of it, from its access to its rear cargo hatch, and even its very unusual angular interior with this window looking out to the rear bed. The interior is unexpectedly spacious, and I think this can be accomplished in lore because they've minimized the amount of material required to enclose a rear cargo bay, permitting a more generously sized cabin for longer excursions out onto the frontier, which is what I think the name of the ship implies that it's meant to do. The design also permits ease of access of the ship's components from the interior, which is also a handy thing to have out on the road because you might not always have the ability to get out and do a spacewalk or go out onto a moon or planet surface that is more hostile to the human body. While this design feature isn't important now, it'll play more of a role in the future when engineering comes online. The ship also includes a modestly sized cabinet for you to store all of your personal items. This, again, is not very useful at the moment, but when iCache comes online and inventory becomes physicalized, you're going to be thankful that this exists. And you also, of course, have a toilet, which is going to be useful when that mechanic comes on. I don't think I need to explain this. Moving on to the main living quarters of the ship, I think this space really embodies what we can expect from Consolidated Outlands interiors going into the future, specifically with the big ship, the Pioneer. I like how they're using the orange accents to highlight the structural ribs. It gives the space more believability and makes it feel more secure from the exterior. It feels like the ship can really take a beating, as it were. As for the sleeping area, I feel like it's very comfortably sized with plenty of personal storage, areas for having books, etc., and it's well lit. But you'll notice that there's a lot of triangles in this space, and I think this really subconsciously communicates a level of stability. The angled walls also perhaps suggest it's more like a nomadic tent in a way. I don't know if that was intentional, but I like the cue. The dinette area is also nicely sized. You've got plenty of space for washing dishes, storing food, cooking, even heating stuff up in what I think is a microwave of some kind, and it also has a pull-out seat for a dining table or work table depending on how you want to use it. And if you look really carefully at the roof there, you'll actually see more component access. I think they've done a wonderful job in the case of the Nomad of having a lot of really good features in a more compact space, while still making it feel large and comfortable at the same time. So in terms of accessibility and the interior, I have no qualms about its design aside from the weird lack of access to the rear truck bed. But what about the flight seat, the place in which you command this vessel? The flight seat actually looks pretty comfortable, if it were a place you could inhabit in real life, and the canopy too offers a great level of visibility, vertically and horizontally. The ship's MFDs and control console feel futuristic when compared to the other ships we have in Star Citizen, as most of them rely on a more analog system with deadman switches and toggles, which I suppose in the day and age of Star Citizen is something more of a design choice than it is a matter of practicality. Touchscreens have been around for centuries at this point, so there really is no point in doing the toggle switches unless you really feel like it's a better experience for the pilot, which I think some real-world pilots might make a case for. But now we've arrived to the part of the video where I tell you guys how the ship actually feels to fly, because that's one of the things that you're going to be doing the most if you buy this ship. But before we get into its combat capabilities, which we'll cover at the end of this video, I want to first talk about its maneuverability and hydrogen fuel use, because these are some of the biggest factors that you're going to want to consider if you decide to go forward with purchasing this ship, either with real money on the website or in-game with in-game earned cash. The ship feels heavy and handles somewhere in between an Aurora and a Mustang, so it's not super maneuverable and I wouldn't rely on it for a race. The CIG developers also strangely decided to make its fuel consumption one of the worst in the game, meaning you're probably not going to be able to spend too much time in atmosphere or in space doing maneuvers or missions without having to think about finding a place to set down and refuel, which strangely runs counter to the whole argument of the ship as being a nomadic ship, because you would expect that a nomadic ship would be able to stay out on the frontier for long durations of time without having to make a trip back to more populated space. Nomadic peoples are self-sufficient. They live out on the edge and make do with what they have, and this ship seems to be intrinsically tied to the nearest spaceport, which means that the Nomad has all the trappings of a nomadic ship that could allow you to live out on the edge, but with none of the really important things that you would need to do so. If I were to make a modern-day analogy, I would say it's something like one of those SUVs that soccer moms buy that comes with the promise of being able to go off-road, only to high-center itself on the nearest small rock when it tries. But it's not all doom and gloom. It does have a really good utility at its price point, and that it's the only ship in this price range that can carry the ROC, the most profitable ground mining vehicle, well, the most profitable mining vehicle period right now in Star Citizen, a vehicle that can earn you around 170,000 UEC per hour and costs 170,000 UEC, strangely enough. The pickup bed is perfectly sized to be able to receive one, but it comes with a bit of a caveat. You have to park it in backwards, otherwise when you try to get out, because there's no accessibility directly into the ship through its bulkhead, you end up trapping yourself. So again, this weird design choice with not having any access to the rear bed comes back to bite the ship's design. Just be mindful if you're doing this that it doesn't always work well, and you should make sure that you've both retracted the mining arm as well as closed the front door of the mining ROC before you close the rear bed. Otherwise it might just phase through it. I really hope they resolve these physics issues soon in an upcoming patch. But once you do get it on board, it makes for one of the most convenient ships to be able to use on a moon or planet surface to look for minables and make a quick buck. If this ship ends up being less expensive by a not insignificant margin than the Cuddy in-game, then I really do believe that the Nomad can become a true stepping stone upward to bigger and better ships as a player progresses through Star Citizen. Because one of the biggest problems right now with the ROC as a stepping stone for earning more ships is, despite the fact that it earns so much money, you really do need a vehicle to carry it around to be efficient with it. And up until now, the, I believe, 1.3 million UEC Cuddy was your only first option if you wanted to go this route. This offers a potentially very attractive second, cheaper option to go for earlier on, and to upgrade from your, say, Mustang or Aurora if that was your first starter ship. While I don't think the Nomad is better than the Mustang at dogfighting, it is a solid upgrade still because of its additional utility. And, as you'll find, it's not half bad in a fight. This is thanks in part to its bespoke integrated size 2 missile launchers that you'll find on the left and right wings, and to its modestly sized 3 size 3 hardpoints, 2 on the top and 1 underneath the canopy. But the cherry on top? It comes with 3 size 3 shields, meaning that stock form, it's pretty good, but upgraded, it can be quite a tank when you put it up against some NPCs and even, dare I say, players. But as I said in the beginning of this video, this is a jack of all trades and a master of none. If you're expecting to be a top dog in a Nomad, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Even upgraded, ultimately, it's limited by its 3 size 3 hardpoints and its maneuverability. It's never going to be an ace. But with its 3 size 3 shields and its decent firepower, it's definitely no slouch and can defend itself should it need to. And if you wanted to run a few NPC missions here and there to clear some pirates out of the back end of space, it's something you can do. Something that you can do just as well as you would be able to in an Aurora or a Mustang, making it a competent little combat mission runner if that's how you want to use it. But you'll notice that nowhere in this video did I talk about its 24 SCU of cargo hauling capacity, and the reason behind that is that it just is too small to make any sense to make any money aside from running drugs, which really isn't an option for a new player. I think at some point in the future when volatile cargo comes online, it'll be really viable, but for now it's sort of a side thing that's not really too much worth mentioning just yet. Overall then, I think the Nomad is a quirky curiosity, worth a look if you're interested in its unusual lines. And its rear exposed bed, capable of carrying an ROC, puts it in an interesting and unique position that no other ship in the game currently is, for its price point. With only 2 really negative things about it: its fuel efficiency being so bad, and its really strange design choice not to have the rear cargo bay directly accessible from the cabin with no clear reason why. Like I said, feels forced, so if any CIG developer is watching, please share below why you did this. I just can't think of a reason. I've been Morphologist, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope to see you guys out there in the verse.